California lost how many thousands of jobs in the fast food industry when they bumped up the minimum wage by 25%? Well, they haven't learned, so they thought before the Olympics came that they would go ahead and jack up wages in the tourism industry basically 48%. What do you think might happen? Closures are imminent. Hotels, restaurants that service hotels, that's going to be a bloodbath. Let's get into it. Here we go. Closer to 48% wage hike in LA. You take the absolute tippy top, it's going to be about a 69% wage hike. Now, this is irregardless of whether these, businesses can withstand that kind of raise in the cost of their wages. It's just, boom, done. You guys got to pay. Because, we're virtue signaling. We want to provide everybody with a standard of living that is irregardless of whether they lose their job or not. How many times have we seen, Starbucks employees unionize their Starbucks and then, wait a minute, corporate closed us down. What happened? How did this happen? Thousands of fast food workers lose their jobs. I mean, this is just so standard, right? City council agrees to $30 per hour salary for workers at bigger hotels. Another vote coming next week. Because it was not unanimous, it's like 13-2, some kind of vote like that, 13-3.
In Los Angeles could soon be getting a pay raise despite objections from business leaders who say they are already facing a slowdown in international travel. The LA City Council gave preliminary approval to an increase that would reach $30 an hour by 2028, just in time for the Olympics.
Sandra Mitchell is live in Universal City with a look at how the change would impact the tourism industry. Sandra.
Micah, hotel and airport workers have been pushing for this for months. As you're about to see, there was a big crowd at LA City Hall today, and their presence, their pressure worked. That first pay hike probably goes into effect in just a few weeks.
Big hug. Gonna lose your job.
Pay for LA tourism workers.
I got a family, I got a wife at home. I work 2 jobs, so maybe I could work a little bit less.
Union workers celebrating on the steps of LA City Hall today after hundreds packed council chambers to demand what they call a fair wage. Under the proposal, LA hotel and LA airport workers will be paid the highest minimum wage in the U.S., $30 an hour by the year 2028.
We've been fighting for this. I actually fasted in December for them to finally get it into vote, so then to make it law.
The wage hike approval came despite warnings from business leaders who say the LA tourism industry is already suffering a severe drop in visitors, and the pay increase will force them to cut back on employees and cause job losses.
The business is not as good as it was used to be. And it's really impacting that way. So if you're doing the math right, it's not going to do what it takes to run the business.
Under the proposal, hotels with more than 60 guest rooms and companies doing business at LAX would be forced to raise pay to $22.50 an hour starting in July, with increases continuing to reach up to $30 an hour in 2028.
12 ayes, 3 noes.
All right. This will come back.
12-3.
After hours of debate today, the city council voted 12-3 in favor of the plan. Supporters insisting the pay hike for essential workers is necessary to keep up with increasing housing and other costs in LA. Because the vote was not unanimous, the LA City Council is going to have to do a second vote, but they are expected to give final approval sometime next week.
So I'm not saying, higher wages are warranted. But there's this little thing called the free market, and if you want to go get a job somewhere else, that is within your right to do so. And businesses basically have to work off of a small principle called profit and loss. They have too many losses, they close down, they don't have enough profit. Same thing, right? Because it's, you got one or the other. You're making money or you're not. And if you go long enough without making money, and this will push a number of businesses who are already already on the front end of, oh, how's this going? Because you had the whole pandemic thing. Everything was closed down. You've had costs go through the roof, less travel, less international travel. And this is coming on the front end of the Olympics coming to Los Angeles. I have a lot of folks commenting on YouTube saying, how's that going to work out? Well, we're going to find out. Is Los Angeles going to clean up its act before the whole world converges upon it? No, it's not. But it's probably going to do a polish the turd. It's going to do that, kind of like San Francisco did when whomever it was from China came. Quick, let's hide all the homeless because this looks terrible. Let's get it looking good for like a week. And then we'll just let everything go back to hell after that. So you got a situation where you've got unions and then you've got city councilmen and women who have never run a business. All they're doing is saying, oh, we need more money. Well, Los Angeles is expensive. I get that. Seattle is expensive, but that doesn't necessarily warrant these massive increases to the cost of the labor component. It just doesn't. And when you do that artificially, meaning a dictate from a city council, people are going to get fired. Businesses are going to close. Ancillary businesses are going to close. Those folks are going to fire people because they won't have the money to support the business operation. Los Angeles City Council has approved a minimum wage increase for workers in the tourism industry, requiring hotels with more than 60 rooms to go up to $30 per hour by 2028. That translates to a 48% hike in the minimum wage for hotel employees over 3 years. Now, if you're an investor, are you going to be looking to buy in Los Angeles? Hell no. Hell no. It's the same thing with here in state of Washington. We have done a rent cap. We're going to cap rents at 5%, 7%, 10% based on inflation, whatever. If you're an investor and you're looking to build a whole bunch of multi-housing units that are subjected to rent control, you're going to avoid states, you're going to avoid cities, you're going to avoid counties that have rent control. You're not going to invest there. Same thing with the whole hotel industry. And again, hotel industry numbers are way down. This vote here was irregardless of whether these businesses can sustain this or not. They just did virtue signaling and said, yep, we're gonna force them to raise it up. It's going to be the law. We'll just see how it goes. A bunch of people are going to get fired. Businesses are going to go out. Conservatives will say, we told you. Business owners will say, we told you. We told you this would happen. Less and less and less investment will go on in an area where you're dictating the terms of business when it should be a free market economy. In addition, hotels would be required to provide $8.35 per hour for their workers' health care by July 26. Irregardless of whether they can afford it, irregardless of whether that business can sustain that kind of increase, just boop, done. It's going to have a negative effect. It always does. This is not hard to figure out. Because the vote was not unanimous, the second vote will be required next week. Rosanna Mayetta, president and CEO of the American Hotel and Lodging Association, put out a statement saying, the city council delivered a blow to Los Angeles today. Time after time, City Council ignores the dire warnings from top city officials and business leaders who stressed that this is not the time to pass an extreme ordinance that will kill jobs and hurt the tourism industry. But they don't listen. You know why? Because they're liberals. They're Democrats. They're virtue signaling, and they don't care about a little thing called profit or loss. Push enough businesses into that loss territory? Industry suffers, and that is what will take place. Instead, the city council elected to jeopardize economic recovery and stability by advancing policies that will lead to hotel closures and thousands of layoffs. And then everybody in this situation who's cheering right now will go, I lost my job. And my buddy in food services lost their job. They lost their job. Impact of the vote will sadly be felt both swiftly and painfully by hotel owners, their employees, and the city itself. Let's talk about California's, budget deficit. Yeah, when you have businesses closed, there's less tax revenue. When you have less tax revenue coming out of buildings, and you've already got a budget deficit, these are all pushing things in the wrong way. And it's because these people don't really give a rip. They just think, well, we'll force them to give us the money that they're holding back, not recognizing that maybe the books aren't saying that there's massive profits being made. Maybe, just maybe, after the pandemic, when there was zero tourism, and the only way that these hotels stayed in business was housing the homeless, whacked out nut jobs on fentanyl. It's the only way they stayed in business. Or they housed the criminal illegal aliens. That's how a lot of these hotels have made it go. They took in money from state, city, whatever, federal. I mean, we had money just floating around, right? Yeah, put up the homeless in, room A5. It'll work out fine. It'll be good. 𝗥𝗘𝗘𝗦𝗧𝗛, president and chief executive of the Hotel Association of LA, told the Los Angeles Times that she believes hotels will close, restaurants or other small businesses on their premises will close, and in some cases, shut down entirely. Why wouldn't they? If you can't make business, you close it down. Starbucks, closing down a whole bunch of Starbucks that have safety issues, that are in really expensive rent areas where you've got really expensive wages. And if you got a safety issue, close them down. Close them down. We don't need the liability. We're doing business in countries all over the world. We don't need the liability of having a hotel open where we're not making any money. Why keep it rolling? They won't. Closed. And that's the harsh reality that a lot of these virtue signaling folks just can't quite seem to take grasp of. They just can't quite get it. They don't want to get it. They don't care. They just want more money because it's basically communism. It's communism. You got a bunch of commies running LA. In the short term, she said, someone will tear up their room block agreements, which set aside rooms for the 2028 Olympic and Paralympic Games. They will not be able to compete. They will not have the profit margin to keep it going. Talk about not having money to put back into their structures. It's all going to Jimmy, the bellboy. You know what I mean? I don't think anybody wants to do this, 𝗧𝗠 said. Hotels are excited to host the guests. They're excited to be participating in the Olympics, but they can't go into it losing money. That's the bottom line, is profit. This is all driven by profit. You want to be a do-gooder? Go become a social worker. Owning a business doesn't take into consideration whether you're a do-gooder or not. You want to be able to pay your employees a fair wage, and this, because housing is expensive, there's no real correlation. Yeah, it's expensive, but the market pays this, therefore we're paying this, and that's what you get. And that's how it needs to be. This coming in from the outside and is $30 an hour based on what? It's based on more. Just more. We need more. I get that. LA is expensive. All of California is expensive, but it's because of ridiculous policies that have been layered upon layered upon layered upon layered, and things are expensive. Everything's got a tax on it. You got the highest income tax. You got the highest gas taxes because you're do-gooders. Oh, we want a really clean environment, even though most of our oil now we're having to bring in from the Middle East on big shipping containers that are horrific for the environment. But hey, our gasoline here in California is a custom blend. Therefore, we're so good. We're so good on the environment. Pat ourselves on the back. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. We're doing great. We're doing great. Meanwhile, that freighter's coming in, just billowing up the most ridiculous stuff into the environment. But hey, let's feel good about it. We're virtue signaling. We're feeling good. Let's shut down some hotels. Let's shut down some restaurants. Let's shut down a whole bunch of jobs right before the Olympics. That should work out well. That's great. Here's a Newsweek article. LA votes for $30 minimum wage. See how they couch it as, it's a $30 minimum wage. And you know what? Hey, big cities are expensive. If you are making minimum wage, you're not going to be able to afford to live there. It's basic economics. Big cities are for the wealthy. That's literally how things have gone. That is the reality. This notion that we can have affordable housing, gone. It's just gone. That's reality. You do not have the ability to bring affordable housing into these communities. You lost that years ago. You don't have the ability to bring enough supply into the marketplace to actually have prices drop. The best you can hope for is a slower increase of rents, if that's the situation you're in. A slower increase. That's the way I see it. I mean, this is economics. And economics don't have to do with whether somebody can afford rent or not. They have to do with, does the business survive? And accordingly, do employees have jobs? That's just, but you see it time and time again. Oh, we're going to unionize. And then they get shut down. Oh, what happened? Where are our jobs go? This is terrible. And they're crying on somebody's shoulder. And you're like, well, I hate to say it, told you so, but told you so. All right, let's get down to, 12 to 3. And this is on 60 rooms or more. So bigger hotels. We got 540,000 Angelenos who are part of the American Hotel and Lodging Association. However, there have been growing concerns about the sector, which is not fully rebounded. In 2023, LA saw only 79% of the number of international visitors it had in 2019. So we're still getting back there, right? Hasn't fully recovered, but let's go ahead and ramp up those minimum wages. Let's do that, and we'll just, see how it goes. Because we're liberals, and this is what we do. And this is, the predicaments we get ourselves into. So why is everything so expensive in California? Because you've had a bunch of Democrats running it for decades. How's that working out? Oh, it's really expensive here. Well, got it. Association warned that slower than anticipated pandemic recovery, coupled with other factors, here we go. The wildfires massively impacted tourism industry. Yeah, let's go to air quality. No, thank you. Hey, you want to just wear a gas mask around? Maybe one of those masks like I have for the riots. I mean, the peaceful protests where you've got the double barrel thing. You can barely breathe in those things. And, you look like, something from the Andromeda Strain. Do you remember that movie? That was epic. Industry groups argue that the wage plan will add pressure to businesses already struggling with staffing and a drop-off in tourism. But let's just go ahead and jack up that raise. And how about a 56% rise for airport employees over the next 3 years? We'll just see how, the airport does and how airlines do. And we'll just, 48% increase for hotel workers. I'm not saying these people aren't working hard. I'm not saying they're not worth more money, but the economics alone say that you can't do rapid rises like this without some massive pushback in the form of businesses closing. Minimum wage for large hotel workers is currently $2 higher than the standard minimum wage in the city at over $18. Same thing here in Washington State. We've got, a standard of living that is wildly high. Everything's super expensive. Housing is incredible. Our average housing price is over $1 million for just, your standard cracker box. $1 million. 20% down, $1 million, 8% mortgage. Run those payments for me, loan officers. That is not pretty. You need to be making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year to afford a home under those conditions. And most people don't make that. The tech bros do. They do. Wage increases should be brought up gradually, yada, yada. There was, all right, let's focus on this one here. The Hotel Association in October, a letter, proposed hotel worker minimum ordinance, calls for a dramatic increase, increasing hourly wages to $24.40 with an additional $8.35. $24.40 plus $8.35 for health benefits results in a 69% increase in payroll in just 2 months. 2 months. 69% increase in payroll. Not sustainable. Not sustainable. Not going to happen. Not on the large scale as is now. You're going to have fallout. Guaranteed. Whether it's a little or a lot, who knows? Can they figure out ways to, can you just start increasing the price of a hotel room? I mean, that's what's happened in areas where they've bumped up like minimum wage for fast food workers. They just pass the cost along to the consumer. And at some point in time, the consumer says no. And there's a huge slowdown in that industry. Like what Seattle did with Uber Eats and delivery drivers. Well, we're just going to slide in a little $5 surcharge there on top of all these other charges, on top of really expensive, $25 burritos. Yeah, $25 burritos. I mean, good burrito. $25. I mean, insanity. I did breakfast and a coffee and what else? Did 2 breakfast sandwiches and 1 coffee that I didn't drink. And it was $50. It was $50. $50 for like a marginal breakfast. And I was like, wow, that is expensive. What are we even doing here? What else did I buy with that? I can't remember. But just insanity. LA Hotel and Lodging Association's 2025 report. LA tourism has historically been a top contributor to the city's economy. However, the compounded effects of a lagging pandemic recovery, wildfires, soaring operational costs, and decreased international travel have brought the hospitality industry to an inflection point. We're at an inflection point, meaning, hey, things have happened to go work against the industry. We're going to go one way or the other. And now City of Los Angeles dumps a bunch of additional costs on top, expensive costs, because labor for a lot of these businesses is a massive component of their operating. And now you've jacked that through the roof in a very short period of time. And profits aren't going to go up like that. So what's going to happen? Let me know in the comments what you think will happen. Yeah, we all know what happens because we've seen this playbook before many times. And what's interesting is this is happening right on the, LA planning and California planning for the Olympics, and with podcaster Newsom looking at a 2028 presidential run. You got a whole bunch of stuff going on in California. That's why I'm doing a podcast just about every single day. I'm recording one on something going on in California because it is in play big time. And we'll just have to see how this ends up. How do you think this will go for the hospitality industry? Let me know in the comments. Meanwhile, make sure you're subscribed, hit that notification bell, all that good stuff, and I'll see you in the next episode because guaranteed there will be a next one. Thanks again for being here. Talk soon. Bye for now.